Okay, here we are with Power Rangers Beast Morphers. Gonna go into the next batch of episodes after Grid Connection. I titled this stream Silver and Gold because two of the three episodes I'm going to be talking about primarily deal with Nate and Steel. I got a lot to say about that, and we'll throw in Robbie and Roxy when we get there because we get a bit of an interlude in the middle episode. So let's see how it goes here. So we have the next episode, episode 16, Golden Opportunity, which is an episode that the plot is basically that Nate's parents return after studying abroad. Apparently, off screen, they had sent him some sort of email that said that they weren't going to be moving around anymore. So he was really excited that they're finally coming home. This is happening. This is so cool. I get to finally have my parents again. You get to also have Steel come out and be like, "Oh, cool! I also get to have parents." My big concern or my big criticism for that is that when we heard about Nate's parents in the third episode of season one, there was all this speculation like who could his parents be? Could it actually be Dr. K and Billy together? Like obviously they have a love child. Who cares? Who knows? Um, that is not what happens. It's just two random people that we've never met before. They're really vague on what they actually do for research because the way that Nate talks about it, it's like, or the way Nate talked about it in season one, it's like, oh, they got to do this really important stuff. They're always away, doing research and things of that nature. Here, they kind of get into this place of, oh, they go places where they're needed, they help out the people, and then they get up and leave and go off to a different place. And Zoe even says they sound like Power Rangers, which makes it even weirder that they're not Rangers or former Rangers or anybody that we've met before. Seems like it would be standard for it to be somebody, but I guess playing devil's advocates, we just got off Grid Connection. Do we really need more Ranger cameos, especially soon after the big return uh, of Jason, the MMPR Red Ranger, in the last episode? Um, but anyway, so he talks with his parents. That we get a really funny scene with Steel talking about how much he's read about having a mom and a dad. He asks them for different requests, like can you give me some money for ice cream, which was pretty funny. And then Zoe kind of just takes Steel away, and then Nate and his parents kind of have this heart to heart conversation. They tell him that they're going to be moving to Costa Rica for 2 years for their next assignment, and they are asking Nate to come with them. Now, for whatever reason, and maybe this is like a thing that is part of the GB handbook, that if you want to leave, then that's okay, you can leave. But for Nate, who is the lead scientist on the Morphex project, built all of the Rangers tech and things of that nature, is actually a Ranger himself. It's weird to me that everybody I can understand the Rangers saying, okay, this is important to you, you should go. I don't know if I believe that Commander Shaw would be like, we'll be able to handle everything. You just leave. Now I don't know if when they told him that he was going to leave, if that one of the conditions was that he gives up his morpher. We don't get that far into things. There's a scene of Nate teaching Steel how to scan DNA for different other projects. Steel scans a flower. Steel, by the way, is not going with Nate because he has to stay at GB for regular maintenance, and that makes sense. I guess there isn't a Morphex tower, or at least there's not a Morphex base that they can go all the way to Costa Rica. So that makes sense. We're gonna leave Steel with everybody else. Um, but while they're scanning this plant, Steel's like, oh well. He compares the situation to, because Nate's talking about how much he's gonna miss Steel. Steel compares the situation to what Zoe told him about her and her brother, and how her brother goes off to college and things like that, and he's like always away, and they have a long distance relationship, but it still works. So Steele and Nate will have a long distance relationship as brothers. Um, but during that conversation, Roborox just shows up and just starts beating the hell out of him. We get this action scene. All the Rangers join in. Um, they get her to retreat, but before she does, she takes the DNA scanner with her, and she actually uses it to upgrade herself in her robot body. So she's basically uh, Roborock's flower power. Flower Rangers, they've made a return. Um, but I mean, even after stuff like that, and big major emergency, Nate still wants to leave with his parents. But as soon as he leaves the lab, everything starts going wrong. Zoe, while she's messing with the new DNA scanner, by the way, they have way too many replacements for all this tech and stuff. I talked about this in the last stream. This kind of makes it weird to get invested with things like that. Um, but Zoe ends up breaking transporter, which means that when Roxy comes back for round two with her flower powers, the Rangers can't call on their morphers or any of their weapons because the transporter's not working. Nate, because he still has his communicator, which he was allowed to keep, which still has his morpher because he does morph later. I don't know if he grabbed the morpher while he was grabbing all the stuff in the lab. But either way, uh, he hears the distress that the Rangers are going under, and he goes back to the lab, gets all the morphers, gets all the weapons, grabs a bag, grabs Cruz, and just motorbikes his way in. He says that he's going to be morphing with the team for the last time. He does. They have this big fight scene. They don't destroy Roborox, but she does leave. So that is basically where we have these characters. Um, Roborock still has her powerful upgrade, and Nate is still questioning whether or not he's able to leave, especially since after the fight, the Rangers tell him, "You can't leave. We don't know how any of this stuff works. I know that you showed us, but we still can't figure it out. You have to stay so that we don't blow everything up." Um, so he goes back to his parents, who are somehow able to walk out of the airport, even though the plane is about to take off. And he tells them, like, I can't leave. It's too important. Or Coral Harbor is counting on me to protect the city, and I can't do that if I'm in Costa Rica. So his parents totally understand, as if they wouldn't, and we kind of just move on from there. And that is the end of the episode. So yeah, it's a fun time. That one, not a whole lot to say. My my biggest criticism was that with all the build up with Nate's parents, that it just kind of fell flat. But the episode does a really good job at conveying its message. It kind of has fun here and there, and plus we have superpowered Roxy after that. And this kind of goes into our next episode, which is episode 17, Going Ape. This episode opens with Ravi is waiting, I guess, at a bus stop or something. He doesn't really take a bus, but he's just on a bench. He's got this portfolio with him, and an old woman comes by and sits next to him. She just takes the portfolio, like, oh, what's this? She opens it, and it's a portrait that Ravi has made of him and Roxy together. And Ravi says that it's his anniversary, so that's a gift that he's going to give to Roxy. And then he just takes off because I guess the cab that he was waiting on showed up, and he just leaves. But the old woman, whose name is Stacy, uh, has the still has the portrait with her. So she's like, "Oh no, I have to return this." Luckily, Ravi had his name and number on the portfolio, so she can get in contact with him. Um, and then Ravi goes to Riptide. He's on the phone with somebody. I think we're led to believe that it's a girl. It's really weird because the show kind of wants you to uh, plant the seed. I don't know if they want to plant the seed of doubt that Ravi is cheating on Roxy, which is what Roxy assumes when she sees that he's been getting all these text messages from Stacy, and we find out later that Stacy is actually the old woman who's trying to get a hold of him so that he can give her, or so she can give him the portrait to give to Roxy. But doesn't go down that way. Ravi or Roxy checks Ravi's phone because it just keeps buzzing with text messages. She sees that it's from Stacy. She confronts Ravi about it. She says, "Who's Stacy? Are you cheating on me?" And Ravi's like, "I can't believe this. Why don't you trust me? You know what? I can't deal with this." And he just leaves. I don't know why he didn't explain himself. I understand that there's this thing in relationships where it's like, how could you not trust me? How could you not trust me? But it's very clearly a misunderstanding. Um, and if he said that it was like related to his surprise that he was going to give her as his gift, because that's the cover story that he went with when she asked him for his present. And by the way, her present to him was a charm bracelet, said Robbie and Roxy Forever, that he put on. But he just storms off because I don't have to explain. I can't believe you would accuse me of something like that. You know what? I don't have to explain myself. I'll just go. Um, Ravi goes to brood on this beach. Smash just follows him. He's like, "Hey, I talked to Roxy. What's going on, man? I thought you guys were gonna have a good day today." Um, Ravi's like, "You trust me, right? Like I'm a trustworthy guy. Why would she call me out on it? Probably because you didn't explain yourself very well." Um, in the middle of that, Roxy shows up to just destroy Ravi. That's the goal. Is she's gonna destroy Ravi. So they get into this action sequence. She beats him near to a pulp, especially after, or even with his Beast X mode with Smash. She's still able to overpower him with her own Flower Power up. Um, and she's about to take him out. He's all weak and at her mercy, uh, and then Zoe shows up to get Ravi out of danger. But of course, Ravi, because of this whole experience of getting into a heated battle against one of your foes that also happens to have the face of your girlfriend. By the way, throughout the entirety of that first action sequence, Ravi only refers to Roxy as Robot. He doesn't call her Roxy or Robo Roxy like he did in the last episode. So I did think that was a neat little touch that he can't even, he's so mad that he can't even register that this is Roxy, uh, because he's so upset with her that he can't, have it go into the fight. Of course it does, because his emotions and the intensity of the fight led to him being overheated, so he just starts attacking everybody. The Rangers try to stop him. Devin says, "I'll take care of Roborox." um, Zoe eventually is just like, "Okay, you know what? I didn't want to do this, but you leave me no choice, Ravi." She grabs Ravi and just jumps off the cliff with him. They go into the water. He finally cools down enough, kinda. Uh, Steele and Nate go to help Devin fight off Roxy. They hold her off for a little bit, but she ultimately does end up retreating. They take Ravi back to GB, but of course he's still hot. He's like physically steaming. Uh, Still upset about the whole thing. They just let him walk out. I don't really know what the purpose of that was. Let me check my notes here. because I just want to make sure that uh, I don't get things mixed up. So yeah, Ravi is still hot because of the situation with Roxy. Roxy actually shows up because Smash invited her so they can kind of talk this thing out. He says like, "How could you not trust me? All this, that, and the whatever." And she's like, "Well, I thought you were cheating on me. Is that why wouldn't you just tell me the truth?" Um, Hold on, let me just check my notes here real quick. Eventually, Robbie's like, "Well, you know what? I can't deal with this right now." He takes off the bracelet, puts it on the counter, and just leaves. Now, why they just left, or why they just let Robbie walk out is kind of weird, especially since as soon as he leaves, and Roxy tells the Rangers like, "Oh my God, you won't understand. He was texting a Stacy. Oh my God, he was cheating on me." And they're like, "I don't know if he would really do that." And then Stacy shows up with the painting and Roxy feels like, oh my God, I can't believe I exploded like that. I was totally in the wrong. I can't believe it. And then all of a sudden, now that the Rangers have all the information, they're like, we need to find Ravi and get him to cool off because if he's still hot, there's no telling what kind of damage he can cause. Because he is just a giant rage monster at this point. I don't know if he has the Hulk strength while he's unmorphed, but he's basically that unstable. Because of Ravi, who is fighting in the woods. He's very upset about it. He's flashing back to all his moments with Roxy, her the breakup that they have at the beginning of season one because they're both Rangers and all this and the other. What or being at her bedside while she's in a coma as a robot duplicate tries to kill him, and of course getting back and being able to be with her again, but then all of a sudden exploding and walking off. So he's got to deal with all that stuff. While that stuff is happening, uh, and this is kind of backtracking a little bit, but it'll make sense when I get back to where we are. But Roborox is getting chastised by Evox. Like you had the Blue Ranger in your grasp and you still couldn't do it, is even with your fancy power up. And Roxy's like, well, I would have been able to take down the Blue Ranger if the other Rangers didn't show up. So Evox orders Blazebot to go with Roborox so that if the Rangers show up again, then that'll be her backup is Blazebot. So while Ravi's in the woods, like dealing with all this, that, and the other, and he's punching trees and kicking rocks and things like that. Of course, the generals show up. Blazebot and Roborock show up, and Blaze is ready to attack, but Roborock stops him and says, "No, this is all me. Just stand back, just in case the others show up." So they get into this fight scene. Of course, the other Rangers show up. They find Ravi fighting in the woods because they get an alert about Blazebot and Roborock showing up. Um, so they go to try to help him, but of course, Blazebot is there. He calls on Tronics to fight off the Rangers. He specifically attacks Devin to try and fight him off, but of course, Devin with the Beast X mode is able to take out Blazebot pretty quickly, and the other Rangers are able to take out the Tronics. So uh, Ravi and Roborox's battle just goes across different lands. They fight through the woods. They go on this bridge. Zoe tries to help, but of course, Ravi just pulls a gun on her and just blasts her. Of course, Nate is there to kind of get Zoe to move out of the way so that she isn't hurt. But during the fight, Ravi and Roxy, the bridge breaks and they fall into the water. Roborox crawls out and she's like, I need to find the Blue Ranger or else Evox will have my head. And then all of a sudden Ravi shows up with the spinner blade. I forget what that one is called. He takes her out, but of course, even after destroying the robot, he's still hot. The Rangers kind of gang up on him. They take him back to GB. They're holding him back. He's still steaming. Roxy is there, and while the Rangers have Ravi held back, Roxy explains, "Look, I'm sorry. Stacy showed up. I understand that I overreacted. I didn't mean to do that. I should have trusted you." And Ravi finally being able to cool down is like, yes, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have just blown up at you like that. We uh, should have explained the situation better. And they're back together. And the episode ends with Ben and Betty coming in and just chucking a barrel of water on the two of them, and the screen freezes and the episode's over. So it's a pretty fun time. I didn't like the initial breakup, but the stuff they do after that is pretty good. The relationship stuff, when they actually focus on it, is pretty good. And I wish there was more talk uh, uh, between Ravi and Roborox when it came to the fighting sequences. There's like one line that Roborox has in the first fight where she's like, "I can't believe I fell for a hothead like you." And I feel like I needed more stuff like that, especially if Ravi is going to be as hot and as angry as he is through most of the episode. I feel like that kind of stuff would be more appropriate. However, what they did here is okay. Well, actually, it's pretty good. It's better than okay. I wish it would have been great, but for what they did, it's still pretty good. Um, so yeah, we still have Roborox and her with her flower powers, but of course she's been destroyed, and which means she's coming back as a robot. She still has her flower powers in the next episode, which is the Silva Switch. So this episode, episode 18, the Silva Switch, opens with Nate being followed by Steel, going to a ice cream vending machine that they have in the base. Um, Nate gets one and he's like, "Oh, isn't it nice to treat yourself?" He takes a lick. He tastes really good, and Nate and Steele's like, "Can I have one? Because I want to know what it's like to taste something. Wouldn't that be pretty cool?" But Nate decides to get him his own ice cream, and Steele takes it. He's all happy to be able to taste it until he realizes that he can't actually taste like a real person, and he gets really depressed. Nate says he's got something to cheer him up, and they go into the lab, or they go into the I don't know what they call the testing area. I guess it's the room with the neural aligners. Um, and while they go in there, of course, the ice cream is melted on Steele's hand, but Nate explains that he's working on a way to try and get Steel into a human body. He's going to be, I'm assuming, because of the stuff with Captain Chaku, and he feels like he can, if he puts enough human DNA, he can just change Steel's body from metal to flesh, I guess. But of course, while he's explaining this, Steele's hand goes haywire because of the ice cream. It jumps onto the computer, causes both neural aligners to activate while Nate and Steele are under there. And though Ben and Betty try to stop it, they end up morphing and switching bodies. Uh, which, in this manner, with this, kind of reminded me of the one episode of MMPR where Kimberly and Billy switched bodies. So yeah, that was kind of weird. But yeah, the other Rangers show up. They're like, "Oh, at least you guys are okay." And then, of course, they have different voices because this is Neo Saban, or this is post Disney era Power Rangers body swap stuff. So of course, it's just going to be the same actors with different voices. Well, actually, post Megaforce, we'll say, because Megaforce actually did the body swap pretty well without the over the top voiceovers. But either way, Nate says we have to switch back, otherwise our molecules are going to disperse and we'll just become dust. But Nate convinces him, like, "Oh, do we have to do it right away? I kind of want to experience what it's like to be human. Can't you just give me this day?" And Nate's like, "Okay, fine, I'll give you this day." So, as soon as they agree to those terms, of course, Nate's having a hard time moving around in Steele's body. He says he feels like a lead balloon. He can't really coordinate himself because he's big and bulky and doesn't really know what he's doing. Uh, uh, the Rangers are then called about Blazebot with a Robotron attacking the city. They go to deal with it, but of course, during the fight, during a pretty cool unmorphed fight, Nate is all over the place because he can't control his body. Of course, the other Rangers are able to blast Blazebot back enough for him to retreat. And what happens then after that? Actually, let me check my notes here real quick. Oh yeah, so after they force Blaze to retreat, um, the Rangers are just going to go and hang out. Um, Zoe says she's going surfing. Or Steele wants to come since he wants to experience surfing now that he's in Nate's body. He gets to be able to swim because he won't sink this time because he's not made of metal. Nate wants to come too in Steele's body, but of course they tell him that he needs to go back to GB for regular maintenance to make sure that everything's okay. We cut back from them. Um, Yeah, we cut back from that to a few hours later when the team gets back from surfing. Nate is explaining, or sorry, Steele. Sorry, these characters look different, but they're actually or look the same, but they're actually different. Steele is explaining how fun it was to be able to surf and all this and then the other. They asks Nate what he thought about getting general maintenance. He says it was boring. Um, then Steele orders every milkshake that's on the menu, and he wants to try every flavor. And he scarfs down a broccoli, which they joke about. And then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, Steele just breaks into a song about how it's great to be human. And this is like a full on musical production. There's dance sequences, costume changes, props. The whole cast gets involved. Everybody that's in the Riptide gym. It is very and the way I described it is the most Disney Channel thing I've seen from Power Rangers, and that includes the Disney era of the show, which didn't very rarely did any of this stuff. I think it's weird that in the same universe where we had musical monsters forcing people to sing, like in Zeo, just having people break into song, that this they would just have this musical sequence that's like just big production, heavily choreographed, massive, huge thing, and nobody says anything about it. They do squigglies after the sequence to imply that it's a dream, but everybody reacts like this just happened, and they're like, "Oh, that's such a catchy song, Steele," and of course, everybody goes full after school special and is like, "Wow, I didn't realize how great it was to be human." And Steele's like, "That's what I've been saying the whole time. My God!" So yeah, it was just a bizarre sequence. After that fever dream, uh, we get to the fortress. Roxy is laughing at Steel, or is laughing at Roborox is laughing at Blazebot for failing uh, at destroying the Rangers again or getting the Morphex. Um, Steel, or sorry, Blazebot says he can do better next time. And what actually happens after that? Let's see. Yeah, after the fever dream, Blazebot steals Morphex to power himself up. So, yeah, he basically says that he needs a way to get more power, and he decides to take the Morphex from the containers that Evox is keeping it in to power himself up. So he powers himself with the Morphex to make himself stronger. And then, of course, he fights the Rangers again. Uh, or he attacks the city again, leaves the Rangers to deal with the Robotron. Once he's powered up enough, he comes back, and he just completely wipes the floor with all the Rangers. I think when he shows back up, he actually just dismisses blast with the Beast X cannon or the Beast X King bow and arrow. So he just slashes that thing right away to show how strong he is. Um, Before he can engage with the Rangers, though, he says that he's strong enough now. He just takes out the Robotron himself. He slashes that thing down. The Rangers are like, I can't believe you would take out your own guy like that. And he's like, whatever, you guys have to deal with yourselves, or you guys have to worry about yourselves. He attacks the Rangers. Um, they just can't handle him. He's way too powerful in this stage. Um, and the Rangers, he's way too powerful for them to take on. So he just takes the Morph-X and leaves. The Rangers try to deal with that situation, but before they can, they're called about a Gigadrone. And then, of course, Blaze and, or sorry, Steve and Nate start to disappear. They go all sparkly hand. Um, the Nate goes back to the lab to get everything ready for them to return to their own selves, but they leave Steel to fight with the other Rangers in their Zords, and they ultimately they ultimately destroy the Gigadrone, and everything is all hunky dory. Um, Yeah, back at the fortress, Evox congratulates Blaze on a job well done since the stolen Morphex that Blazebot brought back was enough to almost get Evox to full power. Roborox then vows that she's going to find out what Blazebot did to make himself more powerful. Steel and Nate then switch back their bodies. Um, Nate, through this whole experience, kind of mellows out because at first he's very down in the dumps and very like, oh, can't believe I'm a robot this whole time. Doesn't it suck? But after the musical sequence, he's like, I finally get to see, like, I enjoyed today because you were so happy. So when they actually switch their bodies back, and Steel is, upset about no longer being human, Nate says he's going to work twice as hard to make sure that he can get Steel back to being human, so that they can enjoy life together. And I believe that is the end of the episode. Yeah. So those three episodes. Kind of an interesting development for Nate and Steele as characters. We kind of have Nate in a place where he's trying to use the Chaku experience to get Steele into a human body. I wonder if there's been some consulting with the Corona Aurora, since that's what the Sentinel Knight used to turn Mac from robot into person. And I know that stuff has to be in Ranger history, because why wouldn't it be? Of course, maybe they don't have those records. I don't know. So maybe we'll get some of that stuff down the line. We won't. I've seen the other episodes, so I'll talk about that next week to see what probably the last few episodes of Beast Morphers season 2, and then kind of give my overall thoughts. Not really sure how that finale is going to play out. Or how long or how much I'll have to say about that finale and its relationship to the rest of the show. But I'm really excited to finally get this show done, so I can get to Dino Fury and really talk about a show that people are actually watching. So yeah, we didn't have anybody show up here this stream again, but that's fine. It's mostly just to get my thoughts out here so that I can do this pretty quickly. That way I don't have to worry about uh, video production and messing with my computer with my video editor to try and pump something out. I can just flash on the webcam and just kind of go in conversation. Hopefully, as we do this later down the line, we'll have more conversations with people. So that is kind of the goal. But I will be doing this up until the point where I'm caught up on the show, and then I can actually do like the more produced episode reviews for you guys that I know you guys really enjoy. So anyway, that's enough for me. Hopefully by that time, by the way, I will have had a full on new computer, so I won't have to be worrying about this one shutting off on me or being as slow and choppy as it has been the last couple of days. If you realize how much trouble I've had with messing with these live streams, just trying to make sure that I get them all situated properly. But anyway, that's enough for me, guys. So make sure you guys leave comments if you're checking this out later. Would greatly appreciate it. Really, just want to start a conversations again as to what I thought. I mean, did you guys enjoy the big musical sequence with Steele and the whole cast? Uh, I would really want to know if that was like a deal breaker for anybody, because it very certainly almost was for me and my brother when we were watching it for the first time on Netflix. So I really want to see what everybody's thoughts on that were in particular. What you guys thought about how the show handled Ravi and Roxy's relationship drama when we got there. So yeah, just kind of let me know. I won't be doing another one of these for another week. It's just I won't have another day off for another couple days. So just look forward to the end of Beast Morphers, and we'll go ahead and talk about it. All right. So I'm Nick, aka Iron Man 1993, and may the power protect you.